Welcome to Tyromper's No Limit Podcast.
What is going on today, you beautiful, blessed boys and girls? Thanks for joining the Tyromper No Limit Podcast. You guys know we're always fired up. Today, guys, we got a legend in the house. We are very fired up. This is a man that was formerly homeless and has now built many successful businesses. A man that's an author, founder, entrepreneur, coach, and now amateur boxer. A man that has 9 awesome children, is an exceptional father that I look up to very much. A man that wakes up at 4:30 every day to train. We found out he's getting lazier, guys. He used to wake up at 3:30. A man that inspires me, makes me better, and I'm honored to call my brother and friend. Welcome to the pod, my man, Mr. Jeff Putnam. How you doing today, bro?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
I really appreciate you coming on, man. I feel like you just have such an incredible story. You're such an inspiring guy. Can you kind of give us just a quick intro? Anybody who might not know you or know what you're about, my man?
Well, I mean, you kind of covered a lot there in the intro. So yeah, I used to work for a general contractor a good 12 years ago, and spent a lot of time being on the road. That put a strain on my marriage. I quit that job thinking, hey, I can just find one local. Didn't work out because where we lived was still kind of recovering from the 2008 crash, where the economy sucked. Couldn't find a job. And the one that I did find was like part-time, 20 hours a week, minimum wage. So slowly but surely, bills got behind, rent got behind, and then we lost everything. Ended up homeless for 2 years. Did that for, did that like it was a job. It was a job being homeless. But no, found us a little motel. I worked at one of those work today, get paid today places.
Yeah.
You know, where you show up, you get lucky to put on a manual labor job, and then from there you just get paid for whatever crap hours you worked. So did that for 2 years until I found a job here in South Carolina, where I'm from, and it was making the seats for BMW, and it was $4 extra an hour, and that was what I needed. Right. That would let me work 60 hours a week. I had insurance and benefits and all that. I did that for 6 years, but about 4 years into it, I started getting just restless. I saw guys that were talking about retiring. They'd been at the same factory for 30, 40 years. I'm like, I can't do this for this long of a time. I need something else. And I just started working on my own businesses, and 3 years now, 3 years later, I work for me, and I've got all the time in the world that I could possibly want, and spend most of it with my wife and kids.
That's an amazing story, man. That's so awesome. So did you had, because you have 9 children now, correct?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to get into that too. But during the time that you guys were temporarily homeless in that motel, did you have kids then too?
Yeah. My youngest is only 7.
Okay. Man,
yeah,
so
we had 7, and at one point, well, it was 7 going on 8 back then.
Man, so it definitely as a man, I'm sure, a lot of struggle, a lot of you just want to grind and show any kind of grit you can to get back on your feet. And then you get that good job at BMW, and then you kind of say, hey, I think I can go even further. Because I think most people would get to that point and just say, all right, I'm comfortable now, right?
No, I did that. When I got that job making seats for BMW, I didn't work for the company. I worked for a manufacturer that was like a tier 1 supplier for BMW.
Okay.
But I did do that. I was like, I'm finally not homeless. I finally have a place to live. We're not, either relying on family to help us with food or whatever. I'm going to work as much as I possibly can here, and I'm never leaving. I'm going to kiss the boss's butt and whatever I can to not end up in that same situation again.
That makes sense.
If I felt safe, right? Because once you're there, you never want to go back. But then, I don't know.
So what do you
it's something
think?
that you just get burned out, and you're like, okay, I need something more. But at the same time, I'm scared. I don't want to end up homeless again and leave this job.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then you kept working that job, but you started building your businesses on the side then, basically. So what did that look like? Because I know it's people say, oh, it must be nice to wake up and be your own boss and have your own schedule and free time. But I know a lot of the sacrifice that goes into that. I grinded for about 6.5 years myself to get to that point. So can you talk a little bit about what the cost was of that then? You're legendary for waking up so early and getting after it.
Well, that's what it cost. It cost me, I was working from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. That means I was leaving the house at 6:30 and getting home at 7:30. Right.
Yeah.
So the kids were awake for 30 minutes by the time I got home because they had an 8 o'clock bedtime before they went to school. And then I had a couple of hours to spend with my wife before she passed out from being, home with the kids all day. And then I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours where I could get some sleep and get some work done on building my company. So it ended up with me working on my lunch break, working on my paid 15-minute breaks, working before work, working after work, skipping meals because I was too busy trying to build a freaking website that ended up looking like a blind toddler made it, because I don't know anything about that. I'm just a blue collar dude, right?
So you start to study and learn these things, and did you kind of like seek out some mentors, or how did you grow into the companies that you have now?
Every single step that I took was kind of intuitive. I was like, okay, I need this. I don't know how to do it. Let me Google that. So if I didn't know that next step, I Googled how to do this one thing. Okay, I do this one thing. Now it's working. The next thing is this. I don't know how to do that either. Well, let me Google it. So what would have taken someone who could afford a coach or could have afforded to outsourced it like 8 minutes took me a month. Because I'm working in minute blocks here and there just to get it going.
Man, I feel you on that so much. And I don't think I was the level of extreme that you were, but when I was trying to escape the bank and corporate and that, I remember having 5 minutes in between clients, and I'm like you, I'm on YouTube taking some notes about how do you even start a newsletter? I don't know what that looks like. Can I get a free one? I don't want to pay for it. Asking my wife a ton of questions, just always trying to leverage every free moment I could, to try and create that life and that dream that you see in your head, that you have that vision, and now you help a lot of other guys do kind of the same thing. Is that right?
Yeah. That's one of the things that I do kind of on the side of my stuff on the side is I like mentoring other people that are where I have been, or that maybe aren't quite that far or that much ignorant about how it works. Because I didn't know anything, right? I was as ignorant as possible. Some people that I mentor are much smarter than me. They just need a little bit of guidance. But yeah, that's one of the things I do, especially with writing. A lot of people want to get into writing for cash, which is great. I make all of my money from writing. It's a lot better than swinging a hammer, I'll tell you that. But at the same time, a lot of people have a very, very deep misconception about what that entails, and it's not as romantic and glamorous as you think. You're not like Hemingway getting drunk on a boat shooting marlins with a machine gun and then getting paid for it. You don't get all that.
Yeah. So what goes into it a little bit behind the scenes? Because I guess I'm not familiar with it. I'd love to know, to be honest.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do for a living as far as, writing. Are you writing for other people? Are you writing for yourself? If you are writing for yourself, what are you writing? Do you have a publication? Do you have, a string of novels? Like, you want to be the next James Patterson? You want to be the next Lee Child? Or are you handling corporate press releases for tech companies in Southeast Asia, which is a lot of what I do?
Okay.
It just depends on what you want. And I do what I can for people to help point them in that right direction.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. So it's number one, having that vision, I guess, to know where you want to go. And then it's just starting to walk that out and what it looks like. But yeah, I think, so is this where you do your writing in this office? This is an awesome setup you have too, man. I love this.
I would like to say this is where I do all of it, but the majority of it's done sitting in my chair in the living room while the kids are going all over the place. Or my wife sitting across from me in the morning before the kids get up. But no, I do a lot of my deep work and really real intentional creative stuff right here.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. So does your wife get up with you at that 4:30 mark, or are you up before her too?
Depends. Sometimes we'll get up at the same time. She used to go to the gym with me when I was going at 3:30 in the morning. But now that I'm going, I don't get there till 5 now because I get up at 4:30. She's like, well, there's more people there. I don't like the crowded gym, because at 5 a.m. is kind of the crowded part of the gym for the morning crew, right?
Yep.
When we were getting up at 3:30, she would come with me because we get there at 4. There's 3 people there.
Yeah, right.
Work out till 5. People start coming in. She just doesn't like the crowd.
Yeah.
So now she has all of her home workout equipment out. So I leave to go work out while she's working out here, because I need that transition, right? I need to be away from home to train.
Yep. Yeah, I totally understand that. Especially when you're with all the kids, you're working from home. Like, there's something special about getting outside your house for a little bit, man. I get that. Can we talk a little bit about fatherhood and marriage? And you're a guy that I admire a lot, man. I love watching you work out with your boys too, right? You got a couple that go with you and train with you. Is that right?
I did, but he graduated high school, joined the Army, and moved out. So
yeah,
now he's stationed down in Florida. So I'm going on my own for right now until the other ones decide that they want to start coming.
Nice, man. Yeah, that was a tearjerker. I've seen several posts, man. Thank your son for me, man. He's a hero, and I've loved watching a lot of that stuff that you guys put out, man. He just seems like a great kid, man. Following his dad's footsteps of just being a real man of integrity, I would say.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, I guess, some of the hardships that you had to deal with then with you and your wife. Was that pretty tough, kind of going through those rough seasons? And it sounds like she's very ride or die, obviously. For you guys to stick through that and then come out the other end, can you kind of talk about that journey and what parenting looked like through that and how you've grown through that?
I mean, let's face it, there's nothing that saps your soul and your strength faster than letting your family down if you're a man.
Yeah.
Right. When we had to move into the motel room, I remember one of my sons saying, Dad, if we're good, can we get our toys back? They thought they were being punished because we couldn't take all of their toys with us to the motel room. Right.
Yeah.
And that'll hit you. That's one of those things that I still think about that sometimes when I'm in the ring, if I need to get pissed off so I can keep beating on this guy. Right. I think about that. And I think about that when I feel like quitting too. I'm like,
yeah.
Nah.
So that's your deep motivation and your why as to, hey, man, because a lot of people look at you getting up at 3:30 every day, now 4:30, you grind so hard and go at it. But I guess that makes sense if you can always look back to that spot and say, I'm never going to let them down again. I'm going to be that guy that's going to propel my family to greatness now. Right.
Yeah. I mean, once you've had your wife look at you going, how could you lose everything? How could you let this happen to us? Even if she doesn't say those words, she's wondering, right? My wife never came out and said those things to me. It probably would have crushed me a little bit if she did, right? But that's how I felt, because it's my job to take care of my family. So knowing that I've felt that far before is more than enough motivation to me. Like, look, I might have to enter a moral gray area if things get bad enough, because I'm not going to let my family down again. I will do whatever it takes to whoever I need to do it to if it gets to that point.
Yeah. And so did you guys have any kind of, like, it sounds like your wife is so great. It reminds me a lot of, I had a former podcast guest on, Brad? He's aged survivor. He went to prison for 5 years, and he and his wife and family stayed together, and she supported him, but he said kind of similar. He just felt like he let his family down a little bit in that way.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I think I follow him.
Yeah. Really good dude. And it reminds me a lot of that. And then, he said when that was all over, it kind of took he and his wife a little bit of time to sort of get that magic back. Did you kind of face a similar thing, or did you and your wife kind of always just, hey, we're in this together, we're going?
Probably a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, you can't expect things to not be impacted by something like that, right? It took a lot of me proving that I wasn't going to let everyone down again for her to be able to get comfortable, right? So think of it like if you're in the car with someone and you're not sure they can drive without crashing, you're tense. You're just tensed up, right? And so I think that's a lot of what it was my wife not being sure if things were better yet. Even though, hey, things are better, but at the same time, she's mama bear, right? She's got the babies to take care of, and wondering if they're going to be taken care of, or if she needs to be concerned or worried that everything's going to fall apart again because I made a stupid decision to quit a job too soon.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. I even see, like, from the first couple of years of my marriage, I was not a very good dad and husband. In fact, I was probably as bad as they get. Just, I prioritized friends and work and bar and my stuff way over my family. And then, me and my wife had said the D word, and I knew she didn't trust me at all. But then I got on my knees one night and I said, I'm changing everything. But it took a while. I like that car analogy, because I was telling her, like, I'm going to change. And I noticed that first few months, she didn't care about me saying it anymore. She wanted to see it, and then after a while it just, well, okay, this is who you are now. I can see you're making these steps to be a better man. But for a while it I could say the right things. It didn't matter though. She wanted to see the proof.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she's going to hold white knuckled onto that steering wheel, right? She's not going to let go until she's sure you can steer.
Right. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense, man. By the way, dude, how old are you, Jeff? If you don't mind me you look 26, man. I know you're older than that.
Yeah. I'm glad I look 26. I feel 46, but I'm 35.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I swear, like, I'm looking at you and I'm like, brother, you look so young, man. You got to get freaking, I don't know. It's that boxing must keep you in shape, man. Can we talk about how you transitioned into boxing and what that's been like? I know, man, Rocky Balboa, I probably watched Rocky 2 and 4 probably 700 times, man. Back in high school, I used to watch just before all my games, fire me up. I like the idea of boxing. I don't know if I like the idea of getting hit in the face, but can you walk us through it and what that's been like?
Dude, I started boxing because I just said, I should start boxing. Like, I don't have any kind of like, yeah. I went and I bought a heavy bag. I was like, I heard hitting a heavy bag is a good workout, because I've been powerlifting for 2-3 years, and I used to be a lot bigger than I am now. I posted a picture of it just earlier. I was swole up, I was jacked, and I was like, oh, I need to get my cardio right. I need to quit smoking. I need to do all these things right. I didn't smoke cigarettes. I smoked cigars. I smoked a pipe,
Yeah.
But I was like, hitting a punching bag, I've heard, is a really good workout. So I went and I bought a heavy bag, right? From like, what was it? Academy, right? So I'm out there on the patio and I'm, I was like, hey, this is pretty good. I wonder if there's any boxing gyms around me. Hey, there is a boxing gym. It's the Golden Gloves headquarters, so they only train competition fighters. I told my wife, hey, I'll be back. Where you going? I'm going to go join a boxing gym and sign up for a fight. It happened within like 24 hours of me buying the heavy bag. And so I've been doing it 5 days a week ever since.
So that's your main training right now. Then you're still going to the gym to lift occasionally, I guess, or a few days a week. And then you're boxing 5 days a week.
Yeah, I'm in the gym, 6 to 7 days a week.
Okay.
I run every day, which I used to never run before at all.
Yeah.
I run every day. I go to the boxing gym Monday through Friday. 2 of those days, it's one-on-one with the coach, working technique or ring generalship, or, focus pads, bag work, something along the lines of, it's going to leave me completely soaked, with sweat by the time I leave. And he's standing over there looking at me like, yeah, told you. And the other 3 days is I go in there for my cardio and conditioning work, which is usually, 3 minutes, or sorry, three-minute rounds of shadow boxing. Then that's followed by heavy bag work, double in bag work, jump rope, and then finally speed bag work. So about an hour and a half all together, just nonstop.
You're just whooped after that, right?
Oh, there's no way I don't come home completely soaked.
Yeah.
And we wash a lot more clothes now. Go to the gym twice a day, because I usually run 3 to 5 miles every morning. And so I come home and I'm soaking wet. My wife's like, okay, you're training twice a day now. So we wash a lot more gym clothes than we used to.
That's awesome, man. Do you feel like that helps your writing a lot too? Just being so much physical, so much movement, so much kind of getting that out, where that helps you?
When I wrote my first book, Empire Divided, I would write, I had this rule that I'm going to write no less than 1,000 words per day, every single day until the book's done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go to the gym. This is when I was powerlifting. Go to the gym, lift super heavy, come back, and I've got those endorphins. You know exactly what that's like. Got those endorphins. And sit there pouring, soaking wet on my porch. You know, even though it's like 30, 40 degrees outside, I'm still sweaty from the lift. Okay, I need to write this 1,000 words before I freeze to death so I can go inside and all this other. And so I did that. It took me 35 days to write my first book.
Wow.
You know, some days it was a chore getting 1,000 out, and some days I could sit down and write 3,000 words and it felt like I sneezed.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, definitely writing immediately after the gym is always smoother, and it flows better for me to do that than if I don't go. Like on a recovery day, if I don't, it takes me like 3 hours to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I just don't feel it. So when I'm already physically exhausted is when my mind turns on.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. I hear a couple things in there I want to touch on. I think number one, it dawned on me why you're so successful. I have your book right over here. Actually, I was going to run grab it. I'll plug it down. I'm going to plug everything Jeff does below though, guys. And I'll plug his Twitter, his everything. His books are amazing, man. So I'm going to plug everything he does down there as well. But yeah, I think the thing you touched on is, hey, I go to the gym 7 days a week. I run 3 to 5 miles every morning. I hit the boxing gym 5 days a week. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these days you wake up and it's like, oh man, I'm sore. I'd rather just lay around. But you still make yourself go do those things because you know it benefits you, and consistency sounds like is your thing, right? You're going to go whether you feel like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't run this morning because I ran yesterday, so I'm recovering. But when we get done with this, I'm going to have about 20, 30 minutes before I got to go and leave to go to the boxing gym. So
yeah, you're just regimented every day, man. And that's pretty cool. So a lot of people that say, I don't have time to work out, or I don't, I just don't feel like it. I mean, the best thing you could tell them is just create the time, get up a little sooner. And then before you know it, you'll be addicted to it, right? If you consistently go, I guarantee it, for 60, 90 days, something like that, man, your life will be so much better. Your mind will be so much better. I think it gets very addicting, right?
I mean, if you went to bed 30 minutes later and got up 30 minutes earlier, that's an extra hour you have in the day, right?
Yeah.
30 minutes doesn't really mean anything. You're going to lay there in bed for the 30 minutes scrolling through your phone anyway.
Dude, it's right. That's so true, man. That's so something just I've cut out.
Oh, you need an extra hour per day? Okay, well, go to bed 30 minutes later and get up 30 minutes earlier. Bam, you've got an extra hour.
Yeah, there you go. I like that, man. So have you fought any yet? Because I've seen you have like big gouges on your eyes. I don't know if those are just sparring matches, or I love that you just like looking like a freaking beast, man. Warrior coming out of there with big old cuts all over.
Yeah, I've fought four times so far. None of them have been on the official U.S. boxing card because I'm gonna try to get about 180 to 200 rounds in the ring before I do that. I fought smokers and might as well be fight sparring matches. Smokers are just they call it sparring, but you're really fighting a guy that's just not officially sanctioned by the U.S. Boxing League.
Okay, but it's still I've done that for a bunch of rounds, and whoever's going to win is going to win. Well,
I've been fighting 3-minute rounds, but in the U.S. Amateur Boxing League, the rounds are only 2 minutes.
Okay.
So fighting, if I fight 180 rounds at 3 rounds or at 3-minute rounds, I should be ready for 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think people probably realize, I probably don't either, how long 3 minutes is when a guy's trying to hit you in the face, man. I mean, it sounds like 3 minutes, but dude, I can't even imagine that.
It's an eternity. Just, it's even worse. I quit smoking at the end of January, beginning of February, right? And so when you're in the ring and you can't breathe and you're out of breath, 30 seconds might as well be a year. And it's the closest you can come to dying, right? Is not being able to catch your breath.
Yeah.
It's the closest you come to dying without actually dying. You feel like you're drowning on dry land. And you panic. I'm not even gonna, try to front. You panic when you can't breathe. And it's different now,
to stop smoking then? To stop smoking the cigars and stuff like that?
Yeah. Panicking in the ring when I had a guy throwing fists at me and I couldn't even get the strength to swing back because I was trying to run and keep breathing. So yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I've done well. I don't smoke anymore. And I ran like 140 miles in March, just trying to purge all that crap out of my system, build my aerobic base.
Yeah.
And now I can go 3-minute rounds. I'm not winded. I can go the distance, but it was hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I notice a big difference. I also notice a big difference when I get into the ring with someone who doesn't train their cardio as hard as I do. I'm like, man, this guy's going really slow. This must have been what I looked like when I was wheezing trying to breathe.
That's amazing though, to see that progression and see how you've like improved along the way, and to know that, hey, it wasn't that long ago I was that guy that couldn't catch my breath, and now at the end of these things I'm feeling like I can go even longer. That's got to be a great feeling, and that shows that wherever you put your focus and energy, man, your body will adapt to anything you teach it to adapt to. I hadn't run over a mile in 4.5 years, and now I'm training for a marathon because freaking Zach Commel challenged me to do a marathon. I'm like, all right, you can do an Ironman, I can do a marathon. So now, the other day I went out and ran 8 miles, and I'm just slowly but surely building up. And it's like that, man. It's cool. To think running 8 miles 2 months ago would have been impossible. If I ran 2 miles, man, my first run was 2.5 miles. I was dead. Honestly, I was out of breath. I was winded. I just hadn't done cardio. But to see that progress and to see yourself getting better, I think that's such a joy of life, man. To see yourself getting better in the ring, see yourself holding your own with these guys, got to feel really good,
Oh, it does. I shared a clip of one of my hard sparring matches just last week.
I watched that.
That one felt really good because that guy was fast, but it felt good to be faster.
Yeah. So is this something you want to do eventually, even maybe professionally, semi-professionally, get paid for? Is this where you see this going? I
don't know. I mean, I'm 35. Yeah. I didn't get into boxing when I was 22. Ed Lattimore, he was 22 when he started boxing, and he only had like 15 pro matches.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Right? Yeah, I guess it is a young man's sport.
Because it is a young man's sport. Now, I'm not going to say I won't do it professionally, but I'm saying I'm just going to go wherever it will take me.
Gotcha.
Right? I might not. I mean, I could step into the ring on my first official U.S. card match and then get a concussion so bad that I'm just done. I never get to box again.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't realize if you get knocked out 3 times in the sport within a calendar year, you're banned from the sport. Like, you don't need to be boxing.
I didn't know that, man.
If you get knocked out 3 times in a calendar year, you do not need to be boxing, right?
Mm.
But it's also that there's a punch out there that would do nothing to you, would knock Ed Lattimore out, would kill me, and they all come, it's the exact same punch, right? Or it would do nothing to Ed, kill you, and knock me out. There's a punch out there that's just like that for everyone. And if you're in any way concerned about, oh, I don't want to get a head injury, well, then don't box. Because at some point, you're going to get hit in the face. You're going to hit in the head, and you could get a head injury. And it could be a permanent or fatal head injury, right? That's just how it is.
So how do you wrap your head around that? Is that something you kind of wrestled with, or did you just kind of, hey, I'm going full bore and life's short, whatever happens, happens,
I think that's part of what it makes it easy for me is my faith.
Okay.
Right. I believe that the way I'm going to die, the day I'm going to die, was set in stone a long time ago. I have no control over it. The day that it gets here is the day that it gets here, and I can't avoid it. Fate.
Huh.
I 100% believe in fate. If I die from, a bullet in the great dystopian war over who gets to own Costco, after the big collapse, then that, or if I die from a headshot in the ring, then I die from that. If I die in a car accident of old age, that's just the way it was written.
Okay. So that's cool.
There's nothing that I can do that will avoid it.
Okay. So I wanted to get into faith a lot because this is how we kind of connected too here recently was, I put a long Facebook message out and had a couple people challenge that on the Bible. And so then I asked that guy who's an atheist to come on a podcast and he said, nah, I don't know if he will or not. But then I just said, hey, I love learning about other religions and people's beliefs. And I love having respectful conversations around that. And so your faith is officially pagan, right?
Yeah, I'm a pagan.
Okay, so I researched that last night. I was wrong about what a pagan is on many, many levels. But can I say what I kind of researched, and then you tell me if I'm right or wrong, or if that aligns with your views?
Shoot it.
There's many gods and goddesses out there. There's different kinds of gods and goddesses for everything. Would be that's what you would believe?
Yes.
You'd promote all kinds of equality and openness, and that you're not a very judgmental. Pagans are not very judgmental, I would say. Like they're not very excluding of these people or that people. It's, hey, gay, straight, bi, whatever you want to be, man, you be. We're open to that. Is that fair to say?
To an extent, I have a very tribalistic point of view on things where diversity, and this goes all the way down to the diversity of ideas, are only a good thing until they're not. Right. At some point, we need everybody to get behind one main idea so that we can pull in the same direction. There's a point where a surplus of diversity becomes negative.
Yeah. Right?
That's in anything. You can't have 15 Indians. What was that? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually, we need everybody pulling in the same direction. And it's one of the things that I covered in my book Empire Divided. America was great when it was small, and everybody had like one thing that they all pulled against. Even when it was like split 50-50. Oh well, we want to support independence, and the other side are the loyalists to the crown. It's just two tribes. Now we've got 700,000 tribes all pulling in their own direction, and it's all right. We need everybody to shut up and get on board with one thing. So to an extent, we're very open. Like I have a gay son. I have this thing where I don't care what you put in your mouth as long as it's not methamphetamines. I'm at that point, but at the same time, I don't agree with someone using their sexual identity or sexual preference as a means of what, their sexual preference should not be their identity, right?
Yeah, sure.
I like women, but I don't base my identity on that.
Yeah, it seems silly. I would agree with that, man.
It's got nothing to do with the content of my character.
I totally agree with that. And I think people get lost in that a lot, man. That's never made sense to me, how you identify as this thing. Well, okay, whoever you want in your bedroom, it's up to you, man.
It's the same thing with the politics, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a conservative. I don't care. Do you use your turn signal? Are you one of those, just heathens that put ketchup on steak? No, just go away. I can't tolerate those things. Are you a good person? I don't care.
Yeah.
And you can argue that there's, depending on the severity of your politics and some of the things that would dictate whether or not you're a good person. But in a general sense, your politics or your sexual preference don't dictate what kind of person you are.
100%. They shouldn't define you. I totally agree.
I mean, if you're politically aligned with eugenics, okay, maybe we could say that you're not a good person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
that would be a fair point.
But if you're like, well, these kind of taxes versus that doesn't mean crap to me.
Right. Yeah. Nor do we have any control over it. So I don't know why people waste so much mental energy on this stuff anyway, right? Like that's always boggled my mind, man. These things that you can't control, you're going to put all your best energy and argue with people online about, when again, you could take ownership of your own life and take your life in these better directions, right? But yeah, another one, exactly. I had a question. Do you believe then in like creation, that they're like God created the heavens and the earth? And do you believe in an afterlife?
I do. I believe that your God is just as real as mine are.
Yeah. So like there's an intelligent designer that designed this whole planet. We're here.
I would say
mission.
I say that there are intelligent designers.
Okay. Yeah.
And because I don't know if I explained this. I know I did explain this in a blog post, and I called it Searching for Gods. And I'll share that with you once we get done here. Maybe you can give it a read. As a human, I find it, and this is me, right? I find it incredibly arrogant for any person that believes in what we would call the supernatural or the divine to say that their opinion on it is the only correct one.
Yep. I 100% agree, man.
Christianity is roughly 2,500, 3,000 years old. It's a very young religion. Although I didn't live that long ago, so I can't say that the things that are listed in the Bible did not happen as they are said to have happened. I wasn't there, right? There are older religions that have been around for much, much longer than Christianity. That are some that I don't follow. I can't look at them and say, without a shadow of maybe I'm wrong, that they're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
My arrogance of saying Tyler's faith as a Christian is completely wrong. Really? I'm a human.
Right.
I can say I think he's wrong, but I can't be 100% sure unless I'm super arrogant, right? Now, there's the balance of I'm very strong in my faith that I'm correct.
Yeah, it's like a personal thing to you, right?
Right. Yeah. I can say that, even as a Christian, they 100% believe that their faith is the one that leads to salvation and everlasting life, because I grew up as Southern Baptist, right? But faith and belief are two things that are vastly different than knowledge. You have the atheists that come in and they know for a fact that all of these gods are non-existent.
Yeah.
Really? You know? It's awful arrogant, right? Yeah. So it would be arrogant as for me to say that the Christian faith is wrong, the Jewish faith is wrong, the Islamic faith, the Hindu faith, Buddhist, they're all wrong.
I have the golden ticket, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Jeff, right? Yeah. It's a lot of arrogance to have that kind of stance on the existence or non-existence of the divine.
I totally agree. And, one of the wisest men I would consider him my first mentor is Eddie Lowen. And, he's been a preacher for 35 years, man, and just super smart guy. But he once told me when I was questioning him on these different faiths and things, he said, Tyler, I've studied the Bible for 30 plus years, and anybody who tells you they know for a fact or they have all the answers, they're selling you something. And it, he's like, look, I study and I believe the Bible is infallible and all these things. But at the end of the day, yes, there's certain things and topics the Bible might talk about. I don't understand. I don't know. I'm not God. I don't have all the answers to these things. And Twitter's really opened my mind up to that too, to where one of the favorite people I connect with is Islamic, and it's not lost on me. We talk about the similarities between our religions. They're actually quite similar in the foundation of it, and the guiding principles that lead both of our lives. And if I just happen to be born in the Middle East, that would probably be my faith, right? So then it is kind of weird for me to also say, well, if you don't believe exactly how I believe, you're, damned to this kind of eternal existence. I don't feel like that's a judgment that I would ever make,
Right. And so in my faith, I believe that your God, like I said, your God is just as real as mine. But what if when you die, if you followed, the tenets to the letter, and you've worked it or earned your spot in heaven, that you go to your heaven. When I die, I would go to mine. When those in the Islamic faith died, they would go to theirs, and they're all just various realms.
Never thought of it.
If you want to get into the Christian heaven, you would need to be a Christian.
Yeah. The one thing I think that Christianity really bases upon is two things. I think you can't earn your spot. Like, there's no chance.
Well, I mean, I know that. That was a terrible way to describe it. But, if you're granted access into heaven by St. Peter, right? He's like, okay, Judgment Day. Yes, you're going in. No, you're not. You're one of the guys that gets to go in the door. It's no different for me to be, well, what about this Jewish guy over here? Judaism's much older than Christianity, and Christ was known as King of the Jews, right? So, I mean, are they not allowed in because they did something different? Or
yeah,
it's that super arrogant to say, well, no, these guys are now wrong.
Yeah, it gets really complex. I go back to, like, in my own faith, and this is the only two things I'm confident in, is I believe there is a God, an intelligent designer of this universe. I don't think we're here on accident. And that comes after many, many, I would say, months of reading about the Big Bang, reading about, like, creationism, just studying all these things, and then using my own logic to determine, I truly believe, odds wise, it's just a lot more likely that we're not here by accident, that there is an intelligent designer. And I believe that God is not me. And so I need to do better, of just trying.
What if the Big Bang was something that was the act of a God?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, again, I'm not arrogant enough to say I understand, or.
Well, if you look at the Christian version of the story of creation, let there be light, I made the heavens and the earth and so forth and so on, right? Well, you can't do all those. Well, even a God can't do those things in 6-7 days. Well, you're basing that off of your understanding that a day for a God is the same as a day for you.
Yeah.
Right. So in the instance of the Big Bang creating the universe, what if what was perceived as a theory of the Big Bang was something that a God was doing? He's like, okay, bam, here it is. That was an act of a God. Then everybody's still right. They're just looking at it from different perspectives.
Yeah. I kind of view this as, like, if I see a little ant walking on the ground, and then I try and get that ant to explain what I'm doing. Oh, I'm hosting Jeff on this podcast today, and we're talking about faith. No, ant, you got to understand this. Like, there's no chance that ant is going to be able to understand the things that we're talking about. And so, again, it goes back to that arrogance piece for me to say, there's no chance I'm going to be able to understand or say with certainty that, yeah, I know that this happened or that happened. This isn't probably popular, and I'll probably be canceled by some Christians, but, like, I'm not so convinced that some of the stories in the Bible aren't just symbolism, aren't just for me to draw strength upon in a time of sorrow, or whatever that might be. I don't know. Like, again, God's a billion times smarter than me. So maybe he designed this book that I can study. I know that in my own life, it's made huge, impactful things to me, and that faith is the guiding principle of my life. But sometimes, like, when I'm in a low point, one of those stories from the Bible, literally a character will come onto my heart, and, like, I feel like it'll give me the strength to go on in that right direction. is that God just putting that there in that moment? Did that really happen, that people went into a fiery furnace and came out alive? I don't know. I don't know if that's just a story. I don't really know. And I know that's not a popular take, but again, it goes back to,
do we know if that's a metaphor or if that's reality?
yeah.
I mean, if it's a metaphor, I mean, we get inspired by stories and movies the same, and it doesn't matter whether it's fiction or based on true events. It still inspired us.
Yeah.
Right. That's, I can't condemn someone else's religion because I don't know whether it's real or not, but if it's making you a better person, then who am I to take a dump on that?
Yeah. I agree. Do you guys have like a central figure then? Like in Christianity, like all I base my everything on, I'm pretty addicted. I study Jesus, right? Like I love his life. I think he lived the absolute perfect life. And so I love studying him and his message and his word and everything, the principles that he talks to live by. The other stuff in like the Old Testament, I'll be honest, a lot of that's lost on me. I don't really understand it. And I'm pretty new to faith, to be honest, 3 or 4 years probably of being all in, but like Jesus would be the central figure that I would base my faith and principles and guiding force on. Do you have sort of similar in the pagan religion of like
yes.
a character? Who is that?
Yeah, well, the thing about paganism is it's broadly defined as the belief in any god outside of the Abrahamic religions, right? You're a pagan. You're a polytheist. You're a pagan, right? I think what you could consider me would be more of a heathen, and that's funny because we get called, but no, seriously, heathenry. I believe in, I follow the Norse paganism path, if you want to call it. So I believe that Odin is the Allfather. And there's nothing more frustrating than when people hear that, they go, oh, you mean like the Vikings? Man, we don't know what the Vikings did or did not do, because they didn't write anything down outside of these Elder Futhark runestones, right? So no, I don't think, I'm a Viking or any of those.
You would make
I do
Viking,
believe
though. I could see you as a Viking.
Awesome. I like that. But no, I do believe Odin is the Allfather. I do believe that the earth was created when he and his brothers slew the great giant Ymir. And much as the Big Bang can be taken as an act of a god, or it can be taken as an act of the universe. Some people think the universe is the intelligent being, right? Who knows? Might be, right? But no, I believe I follow Norse paganism as my primary faith. But I also believe that if you look at something along the lines of the 10 Commandments, thou shalt have no other gods before me. You can say that he's talking about false gods, and you could be 100% right. And you could also say that he's talking about any of the other gods that are out there, because he's a selfish God, which you've heard that before. The Christian God is a selfish God. Have no other God. Your love belongs to me.
I believe he even says that in the Bible.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
I am a selfish God, right? Yeah.
Right. So I would say that the Christian God knows about my gods, and my gods know about your God.
That blew my mind. Yeah, that's very interesting take. And yeah, it's, I go down a lot of rabbit holes, man. I had a lot of fun, honestly. I figured out that paganism came around about the 3rd, 4th century is what I kind of discovered. And it was really just
Proto-Indo-European
separate villages.
I mean, if you think about it, Proto-Indo-European cultures had a sense of animism. And by animism is the belief, it's very similar. And this is why I think a lot of our religions are just different denominations of the exact same one. People that had zero contact with Native Americans had the same beliefs as each other. So in Proto-Indo-European cultures, they had a belief of animism, and animism is the belief that everything, the trees, the grass, the bushes, the beaver, the deer, the bear, they all have a spirit. 8,000 miles away across an ocean, people that did not have any contact with these people believe that same thing. The Native American cultures, the eagle, the bear, the deer, those were all sacred things. You look over into Germanic paganism. I mean, even our days are named after pagan gods. Like Saturday is named after Saturn.
I didn't know that.
Which was a chief god. Wednesday, the reason it's spelled W-E-D-N is it used to be called Woden's Day. Woden was the Germanic pagan version of Odin.
Wow, didn't know that.
Thursday, that's Thor. Friday, that's Frigg or Frey.
Wow, didn't know that, man. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we have days that are named after Roman, Greek, and Norse pagan gods. And you wonder, how did everybody come to agree on these things? Is maybe because there's some commonality between them all that made everybody go, yeah, I could compromise a little bit and see that side. Yeah, okay, we're all on board. Right? But even in these Germanic paganism and the animists, that, you know, I'm talking first, second, third, fourth century, they had a sense of the sacred for if there was like a white deer or a white elk, you know, algiz is what we would call it in Norse paganism, right? The sacred white elk. There's a sacred white deer to the Cherokee as well. They never had any contact with each other. So is there something that connects those two people, that there's some kind of common universal truth that people just kind of knew back then? And why did they know it back then? Was it, you know, in the Old Testament of the Bible, in the New Testament, people talked with God and they talked with, you know, Jesus. They had conversations with the angels. Who's to say that wasn't happening on another scale with another faith?
Yeah, that's, you know, I just spent time with, call him Dr. Phil, one of my brother-in-laws, and it's a cousin's husband. I don't know what that makes him, but he's a doctor, and he told me he's read a lot about like end of life stuff, and that these people kind of see this light and they see this beautiful thing. And he has this kind of thing that we were talking about not that long ago, where he just says everybody's connected. Every human being is connected. Everything is just really connected in the world, you know? And I thought that was kind of a beautiful thing. And kind of what you're alluding to there, I think it reminds me of that quite a bit. That, again, I'm not arrogant enough to say I have all the answers, or, you know, I don't think either of us are, but I do think
everything I just said could be wrong.
It's kind of freeing to have that opinion too, though, right? Is like, these are my beliefs. I'm not even married to my beliefs. Like, in, you know, as new information comes in, man, you know, for the first 2 weeks, I was scared of COVID, brother. You know, like, then a lot of new information came in. I realized I don't know. I probably am not a high risk guy when it comes to this stuff, but, you know, I don't know, that's crazy. The one thing that I think I've been thinking about ever since you said it is, when it's your time to die, it's like your time to die. That one's kind of hit me in a weird spot, I guess. But I think it's because I'm kind of a control freak, and I like to think I have control. But then when I zoom out, I realize we're flying around on some giant rock, orbiting a flaming ball of fire, or, you know, it doesn't make sense, right? So when you kind of zoom out, you probably don't have much control anyway.
Right. And I believe, now I could be also wrong about this, I haven't been in a Baptist church in a long time, but I think there's something also along the lines that in the Christian faith is, you know, only God knows the day you're going to die.
Yeah. Right? I think it was the time Jesus, only God knows, the Father, when Jesus will come back to earth.
Okay. Very similar to that. There's a belief in Norse paganism that there is a tribe or species of deities called Norns, the Nornir, and they are generally represented by 3 women that are weavers, and they weave the threads of fate into the very fabric of the universe every single time a person is born. And your thread crosses over my thread, which is why you and I have met each other. But it also ties into the whole, we are all part of the same giant tapestry. There's people out there that are part of the same tapestry that our threads don't cross. So we've never met them and we never will meet them. But it is a very vast tapestry, and only the ones who wove those threads of fate on the great big spinning wheels are the ones who know where our fate's going to lead at the end of our thread, the day we die, when our thread runs out. So it also ties in with what your doctor cousin's husband thing was. I don't know what to call him.
I don't either, man. I really don't.
We're saying, everyone is connected.
Yeah.
Right? And it's kind of the same thing. There's a physics aspect to that too. Like if you have two tornadoes swirling around each other, it's not two tornadoes. Both of those tornadoes are made of wind. It's just two pieces of the same wind that are kind of butting up against and wrapping around each other.
Yeah.
Right.
I even see that a lot in the way that life is designed, in my opinion, is if I really want to put myself in a good mood, what do? I go help somebody else. It makes me feel better. When people come on Twitter and they trash you and they say these really negative, venomous things, dude, they're really saying that back to themselves, man. They're projecting what they don't. I think we're just all connected. And like, if you really want to have a great life, then you pour into other people, I don't know. I see that time and time in life. But man, I could talk to you forever about this. Will you come back on and we can have one whole separate discussion on this? Because my mind's going off, man. A lot of thousand different right now.
I'll come on whenever you want, man.
All right. Well, tomorrow, guys. Now we'll get another one for sure. I always end everyone with some rapid fire questions, and we're actually taking our boys to a Zumbini dance class here in 4 minutes. So I'm pretty pumped for that, man. See Kingston get out there and do the shimmy shake. It'll be fun. But all right, my man, some rapid fire questions. First one comes to us from Heath. Heath was a guest on the podcast earlier. I love Heath. He says, growth and comfort are not brothers. How do you stay uncomfortable enough, Jeff, so that you're demanding growth in your life, but not feeling overwhelmed with all that you do?
I treat it like the way the Incredible Hulk treats his. They go, how do you stop from getting angry? He's like, I don't. I just always stay angry. And I keep it a very controlled discomfort, right?
Kind of with those systems you're talking about, getting up at 4:30, going to the gym, going to boxing, going on runs, all those things. That makes sense. Just a daily part of who you are.
Yeah.
All right. What's the most impactful book you've ever read besides your own?
I would have to say Fire in the Dark, Men and Gods, by a good friend of mine, Jack Donovan.
Okay. Nice, man. I haven't heard that. I'll check that one out. This is an interesting one. Would you sell your Twitter account for $200,000, but you can never come back on social media or anything else? You're banned for life, but you get $200K cash today, tax-free.
Yeah, because I can tweet and make more than that.
So you wouldn't sell it for the $200K?
No, I make a lot of money on Twitter. I would sell it for a lot more.
Yeah,
but that's a pretty low number.
What about 2 million?
2 million, yeah, sure, why not? Because I could take that 2 million and then
put it to work.
put that to work.
Yeah.
I don't need a lot. I just need a place to raise my family and raise my chickens, man.
That's awesome, man. What's a perfect day for Jeff look like, man?
Every day.
I love that, man.
Every day is meant to be the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, I feel that one in the soul, man. At the end of the night, every day I'm laying my head down, I just think, thanks for that gift. Every day I wake up, man, I joke to my wife, I'm like a dog. I'm like, what do we get to do today, baby? Let's go. Let's get it. It's just all a gift, man. That's amazing.
It could have been a bad day, but you know what? That was a test. That was just another step on the journey that you're following along to get to the end of your thread in that tapestry.
Yeah, I like that, man. Well, I would want to say too, I'm going to plug everything Jeff does down below. His books are fantastic. I have them over here. He's just a great man. I appreciate you, man. Reach out to him if you want coaching, any kind of thing like that. Where can we find you, Jeff? Tell everybody about it. I'll link it below. And then if you got any last words, brother.
Easiest place to find me would be Twitter @rugged_legacy. As far as last words,
I've been following you for ever since I got on, man. You're one of my favorite follows. You just put out some fire, man. I love it.
Thanks, man. I like following you because you're like, I can be like pissed off. I'm like, I'll just go see what Tyler's talking about. I'll feel better. Because you're just a big ball of positivity, and I love that.
Yeah,
now, last words. I'm going to steal this from my favorite podcast. Podcast is Northern Myths podcast, right? And it resonates a lot. No matter what your faith, no matter where you're going, where you're from, every single part of your life is a piece of a legend or it's a piece of a myth. So figure out what myth you're living and do it hard.
I love that, dude. That's great advice for everybody out there, man. Well, I appreciate you so much coming on, brother, especially on short notice. I know you're a busy guy. Now go beat some people up after this, right? Going to boxing. I'm going to go take my kids to dance. Let's keep living the dream, brother. I appreciate it, man. All you guys out there listening, thank you for tuning in, man. It's Tyromper's No Limit Podcast. This episode number, I think 31, 32, somewhere around there, guys. I don't know. I never know. But anyway, you guys go have the greatest day. Bless everybody around you. Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. And let's go change the world, baby. Have a great day.